How's it going, everybody? Tricks here, and we're back at it again with another video. On this one, we're going to be talking about the best possible builds for the fire staff in season 1. We're going to be talking about the best artillery far range build, the best burst build, and the best sustain build. Also, we're going to dab a little bit into the war builds. And after I'm done with the builds, I will be showing you guys what is going to be the best gear slash weapons for these different play styles. Without making this any longer, let's go ahead and jump right into it. So for the first build that we're going to be showcasing, this is probably going to be the strongest fire staff build overall in the next season 1, right? So we're going to go with Pillar of Fire. Obviously, we're going to pick up Strike the Match. We're going to get Pillar of Fire down here. Not Pillar of Fire. We're going to get Fireball with Scorch Earth. We're going to pick the 10% right here. Clear Mind, Singe. We're going to pick Spell Slinger, Prophet of a Fire God. We're going to pick Flare. And we're also going to pick Rune of Helios. I know. A lot of people are not used to me picking Rune of Helios or just playing with Rune of Helios altogether. But the new Rune of Helios is actually quite big, and it will complement this play style a lot. So we want to make our way to burn now, because of course that is our only mobility ability, and also will be an engaging ability, and you guys will see that pretty soon. We're not going to pick in Let It Burn, because 10% fortifications on a light player right now is more of a debuff rather than a buff if the enemy is using Invigorated Punishment. So we're going to pick Heat Up. We're going to pick Kindle, Burn Out all the way down. We're going to pick Watch It Burn and Trial by Fire. I know we're not going to be picking combat speed, but it is what it is, all right? We don't really need combat speed. So this is how the build will look for the fire staff right here. Now, you can play this build with either Blunderbuss or Ice Gauntlet. It's pretty much the same thing. In this case, I will show you guys with Blunderbuss. We're going to be picking this right here, this one. We're going to go for the Splitting Grenade. Although you could go now with Ace of Blast, since a lot of the melee players will not have 300 strength. I mean, they probably will, but they're just not going to have the perma grid. So Blast Shot might actually be good in the upcoming patch against Great Swords, Great Axe, anything great, really. As long as they're not spamming left click, you should be fine. And we're gonna pick Double Down right here. You guys notice that I'm also not picking Fortify and Aggression, because this, like, once more, is a 10% fortification whenever you're hitting an enemy that is 3 meters or closer from you. And obviously we're not gonna pick in On a Roll. This is even worse. So man, to be honest with you, most of these fortifications, they need to be buffed, because they don't really do anything for light players. They only do something for medium or mostly heavies. So why have perks on the weapons, you know, skill tree that only benefit one archetype of armor? The weapon should benefit whoever is wearing it, depending on their armor type, and it should be across the board. You know, the weapon skill tree shouldn't benefit one type of armor more than the other, because then, well, some weapons will be better utilized in heavy, while some of the weapons are like completely dog shit in light. You know what I mean? So anyways, here's how it will look for the Blunderbuss. And their rotation for this build is as simple. As a matter of fact, you could play this build in 2 different manners. You could play this build close range, and you can play long range. This one saying that this is probably going to be the best build coming the next patch. So if you want to play the good old artillery mage, you're going to be doing, you know, your heavy attacks from afar, spamming your fireballs and Pillar of Fires and whatnot. So it will basically go like this, right? You're gonna send your fireball. You see your Rune of Helios is right here. We are burning the enemy because fireball now burns the enemy. Then you're gonna do a Pillar of Fire. You're gonna do your heavy attacks in there, get your cooldowns back. Fireball, Pillar of Fire. If it is a clump, Splitting Grenades, right? Then more fireballs with the basic attacks right here. Pillar of Fire. And this is how you're gonna play this build, right? From afar. You're gonna play this build using the Flare, which is the heavy attack. You're gonna use the Pillar of Fire. Whenever you have grenades ready, you send it in there into the middle of the clump, switch back to the Fire Staff, continue with the heavy attacks and the Fireball. So this is one way you can play this class from a distance, and this is the old traditional artillery fire mage, right? But the good thing about this build is that you could also play it very offensively, very aggressive, going into the face of the enemy. Thanks to the new Burnout, and also the Rune of Helios will affect a lot. And also the new Trial by Fire will help us tremendously So the idea for a melee burst fully all in, right, to kill a healer, to kill an archer, a musketeer, is gonna go as follow. We're going to be using the burn now. As you guys know, the burn now causes an explosion at the end, doing an extra 100% weapon damage. As soon as we're done with the burnout, we're going to be using fireball. Fireball has scorched earth, which is another burning stack on the enemy, and then we're gonna hit them with the pillar of fire. And all of this is going to be happening on top of the rune of Helios, because as soon as we're done with the burnout, rune of Helios will kick in place, right? So we can apply 2 stack of burning with a burnout, another 2 stack of burning with a fireball, bringing it into like 4 stacks or 3 stacks, right? Then we hit him with a pillar of fire, and we'll switch up to the blunderbuss, do our rotation. But this is, like I said, this is pretty much like a burst, all in, balls deep, kill the enemy kind of thing. So it will work as follow. You're going to use the burnout into the enemy. The explosion will happen twice. You will use fireball, pillar of fire, switch to your other weapon, do your combo, and then as you use the net shot, you can see that you put yourself in a very safe spot for you to use your fireballs and your pillar of fires, you know, back again from a distance without being worried to get killed. If you were not able to finish him up with that combo, well, guess what? You'll be fine, because you had that combo pretty soon again, and you can do it every time you want. I run out of mana there, but you guys get it, right? And you could also play this build with the Ice Gauntlet. It's gonna be pretty similar to the blunderbuss. So you're gonna keep your distance, right? You're gonna do your fireballs, your pillar of fire, and you're gonna put the blizzard from a distance. And this one right here is your traditional old school stat padding without meteor shower. Just having a good mobility with a burnout, having pillar of fires, basic attacks, and fireball. And whenever you got your blizzard off of cooldown, you can go ahead and switch to the Ice Gauntlet, put a blizzard on top of everybody, and keep spamming your basic attacks and keep spamming your fireballs and pillar of fire from a distance. Now, to use it up close, well, instead of using Shredder Blast, in this case, we'll be using Ice Spike. If you want to use it from afar, you don't need to use Ice Spike. I guess if you want to use the good old school build from afar, then you're going to be picking Ice Storm, everything on the Ice Storm side, right? So that way we pick Ultimate Shield, that way we pick all of these. We jump into blocking stamina. We're gonna pick Ice Shower and Entomb, and that will be your traditional, your traditional Ice Gauntlet Fire Staff build. Or you could go with the Ice Spike, Shower, Entomb, or Blizzard, Entomb, or Shower. It's up to you. And if you want to go for the burst, you go with a burnout, fireball, pillar of fire, Ice Spike, and a blizzard after. Or you can do it whichever way. You could do a blizzard first and then an Ice Spike. I just don't want the enemy to run away from you and you're not able to hit him with that Ice Spike, right? So once more, you're keeping your distance with the enemy. You're coming over here with a burnout, hit him with that fireball, hit him with a pillar of fire, hit him with the Ice Spike, and then put a blizzard after they're trying to run away on top of them, or just put it on top of yourself in case that the enemy's not dead yet. And that is how you play this build with both the blunderbuss and the Ice Gauntlet. Now, the next build that we're going to be talking about is going to be the flamethrower build. All right, so we're going to be picking a pillar of fire with strike the match, of course, fair restoration, clear mind. We're going to be picking cinch, spell slinger, prophet of a fire god, flare. If you want to pick flare, it's up to you. It's either flare or combat speed. So you guys make that choice. You want more movement speed, or you want easier way to hit with your heavy attacks. I'm pretty sure everybody's gonna pick flare. So we're gonna go with the flamethrower. We're gonna put 3 points on heat up. We're gonna get pyromania, kindle. We're going to get watcher burn, because watcher burn now works with the flamethrower, which is very, very good, because with the flamethrower nerf, now applying the burning stacks on the enemy, it might be a little bit slower. So we definitely need to pick watcher burn mandatory. And for the last bird, we're going to be picking trial by fire, because obviously we are using the flamethrower. For the blunderbuss, it will pretty much be identical to the other one that I showed you before with the artillery build. And like I said, you guys can now go with blast shot if you guys want to, because there's not going to be a lot of melees with permanent grid just pressing left click on top of you. So we're actually going to be hitting the enemy with blast shot a lot more often now than we ever did before. But anyways, here is the build. And how will you play this build? Hold on, let me pick up blunderbuss. How you will play this build is going to be pretty similar to how we played in the light server right now. Let me go ahead and organize the abilities. So You could use a burnout to get into the enemy like before. You're gonna do a pillar fight immediately and then go ahead and use the flamethrower if you find the opportunity. Then basic attack, shrine of blast, basic attack, net shot, come over here with a flare, and then just continue punishing the enemy with the flamethrower, right? If you need to escape, then you escape right here with this bang. You can use flip right here on a different target. Basic attack, going with a pillar of fire, and then we continue to punish them with the flamethrower. The flamethrower is now a lot slower build compared to the other build that I showed you earlier, but it is what it is. The other build is super fast. It's very fun. The flamethrower is still going to be very, very rewarding, you know, for fights that last a little bit longer time, and or fights that that just all you gotta do is just pressure the enemy. The flamethrower will still be super good to do that spread damage, you know, and not actually just put all your eggs in one basket with the you know, with a burst of pillar of fire and fireball. The flamethrower, even though it got a slight nerf with now the attack speed of flamethrower being once a second instead of once every half a second, right? But it is all right. So flamethrower is still going to be a very solid build if you guys want to play with the flamethrower. I know I will be playing with flamethrower. I think flamethrower is a super awesome and fun ability to play with. And you could also match it with the ice gauntlet like I showed you guys earlier. Let me go ahead and pick those abilities once more. Like I said, I don't need the rest of the abilities. So yeah, it will be something like this. Once more, we're gonna close it into the enemy. We're gonna hit him with a pillar of fire. If the enemy is slow, you can go ahead and use flamethrower. If the enemy is not low, then you can go ahead and hit him with a blizzard and freaking ice spike, and just continue your combo with the pillar of fire and flamethrower, punishing the enemy. Don't give them any room to escape whatsoever, and just continue being on top of them with the ice spike, you know, and the flamethrower. There's not too much to go about this build because, well, it's pretty simple. It's pretty self-explanatory. Plus, I've been playing this build now for a couple of hours. The only thing that changed from the old build and the new one is that we are no longer getting fireball, and we're now getting pillar of fire because it's just a better version of fireball right now. And like I said earlier, if you want to go for a war build or an OPR build that is full on stat padding, it will go something like this. You're gonna get pillar of fire with strike the match, fire restoration, clear mind. You're gonna pick only 1 point in the meteor shower. You don't want anything else. You don't really need anything else on the meteor shower. We're going to pick fireball. You're gonna go all the way down to catch, because since you're gonna be using it in wars and you're gonna be using it in clump, there's a very high chance that you're gonna hit an enemy with a direct hit. Although you guys know that it's always better to use it on the ground, but we are now talking about wars and very large scale PvP, right? We're going to pick all of these. We're going to pick flare. We're going to pick Rune of Helios, Cinch, and clear casting. I'm not gonna be picking clear casting for like active combat PvP and close range because I will be getting hit all the time, right? But if you're in a war and you're far away from the enemy, right, and you're not getting hit, then you're gonna have clear casting on top of you a lot of the times. With the 5 points that we have remaining, we're gonna go like such. We're gonna go all the way to combat speed, because since we don't have burnout, we need a little bit of movement speed whenever we can have it, right? So yeah, this is pretty much for the artillery build. Once more, all you're gonna do from a distance, you're gonna put the blizzard on the enemy. You're gonna go with a fireball, you know, pillar of fire in there, I mean meteor shower, and then pillar of fire, and then just spam your basic attacks, and basic attacks. Use a pillar over there, use a fireball, and then more meteor showers every time that is a cooldown, you know. Pillar of fire is about to come. The blizzard is about to come. You put it down, coming over here with a heavy attack, fireball, heavy attack, pillar of fire, heavy attack, a meteor shower, right? Heavy attack, a pillar of fire, heavy attack, fireball, and you guys get it, right? This is a build that you would never stop spamming abilities from afar for the maximum stat padding potential. This is how pretty much how it will look. For PvE, I'm not going to make any builds for PvE yet. I will make a full-on video guide about how the new PvP build for Fire Staff will look like for Season 1. So stay tuned for that one. This is only about PvP and the 3 different builds that we could utilize. The artillery build with mobility, close range, and far range. That was the first one that I showed you guys. Then the second one was with the flamethrower. That is the traditional, my favorite build, right? I wouldn't say my favorite build, but it's the build that I enjoy the most. Coming in next patch, the first build with Fireball and Pillar of Fire just seems so much fun to play with. A lot faster with a lot, very, very rewarding. And then the last build, which is the War build, if you guys want to go with, Pillar of Fire, Fireball, and Meteor Shower. Full stat padding from a distance if you guys desire. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the gear. The first gear set that we're going to be talking about is going to be for the artillery build, the first build that I showed you guys. For the helmet, we're going to be running Freedom, Resilient, and Plague Splitting Grenades, right? If you're going to be playing with the blunderbuss and you have the grenades, then obviously you want Plague Splitting Grenades somewhere on your gear because we're going to be utilizing Net Shot on the weapon. So yeah, go ahead and get Splitting Grenade on the gear. If you are not using Splitting Grenade and you're using Blast Shot, then you don't need that Splitting Grenade right there. And you can either go with one elemental aversion or you could go with Blast Shot. Is up to you. The second piece that we're going to be talking about is going to be the chest right here. You guys see has elemental aversion, freedom, and resilience. The third piece that we're going to see right here is going to be the glove once more with resilient, freedom, and elemental aversion. And the next piece is going to be the pants with shirking energy, elemental aversion, and resilient. I'm still a big fan of shirking energy for small scale PvP or PvP in general that I'm actively engaging, face to face to the enemy, and I'm dodging shirking energy. Even though after the nerf, I still think it's an awesome perk to have on your gear. It does help you a lot along the road if you add up all of those 15 stamina that you get every 6 seconds, if you dodge correctly, of course. Since we're going to be using the artillery build, we're going to have Fireball on the boots right here. And as you guys can see, I have one more freedom and one more resilient. Now, as you guys know, I did a testing the other day in the PTR while on stream. And now 4 freedom is the best way to go, because now with the nerf to the heavy and medium, CC duration, now with 4 freedom, we can literally get out of any CC combination in the game. Before, we couldn't get out of it even with 5 freedom against like a sword and shield and warhammers. But now with 4 freedom, you can even get out of a shield bash before they hit you with a wrecking ball. Or you can get out of a shockwave before they can hit you with a cleared out or a wrecking ball. It's basically immediately, all right? If you have 4 freedom as a light player, it's basically immediately you get out of any CC in the game. You'll never be able to get hit by any CC combo ever again. And this is why I think 4 freedom, it is now more required than ever before. Before, 3 freedom was a soft cap. That way we were able to get away from the shockwave heavy attack or vault kick javelin, but we were not able to get away from those shockwave and cleared out combination with the sword and shield warhammer stuff. But now 4 freedom is the way to go. Now, have in mind, 50% freedom still is the cap for freedom, meaning that if you are a heavy player, you should only utilize 2 freedoms, because like I said, 40% is all you need. You don't even need 50%. So if you're heavy, you only need 2 freedoms. If you are medium, you only need 3 freedoms, because again, medium has an extra freedom on their set for 4 freedom. And if you are light, you need to use 4 freedoms to get the best out of freedom. But anyways, we cover all of the pieces of armor. For the amulet, I still like to rock a health, stamina recovery, and divine. That divine, you could replace it with something else, like a protection of your choice. The one that I recommend the most is a thrust protection, because the other mages, if you are a better mage than the other mage, you can kill them easily. If you are better than a melee physical, physical player, you can beat them easily. But the one thing that is very hard to counter are those archers or musketeers shooting at you from 30-40 meters away, that there's very little counterplay you can do to that, especially if you're fighting somebody else and there's an archer far away from you hitting you for 3,000-4,000. So you really will probably want to mitigate that thrust damage. So I will only replace divine in my personal preference with a thrust protection. If you have problem with somebody else, then go ahead and pick that protection that it best suit your play style. I still love divine because I play solo 99% of the time, and that healing from divine, it does add up and it helps tremendously. Then for the ring, we're no longer going to be using the champion's ring, and we're now going to go with a ring with the fire damage because they nerfed the critical damage. So I really don't want to rely on critting all the time. So I rather have fire damage, which is a standard 5% increased damage right there from all of our fire sources. And, you know, blunderbuss, a splitting grenade, shrapnel blast, and everything on the fire staff. So for me, my brand new favorite ring is now fire damage hardening and invigorated punishment. Obviously, we need invigorated punishment and hardy mandatory because the fire mage and mages in general, 90% of our damage comes from abilities, and then the rest comes from basic attack, unless you are just a left clicking spamming fire staff from the ramparts, just spamming left click 90% of the time. But let's be real, that's just a very boring playstyle. If you want to play that playstyle, there's nothing against that. You just know that it's not going to be the most engaging of playstyle. It's not my personal favorite, so I'm going right here with this ring. For the earring, healthy toes and refreshing toes, these two are pretty much staple, and I think that they are mandatory. Refreshing toes is probably the strongest perk in the entire game. And healthy toes is just so tremendously good because the mana potion has a very low cooldown with refreshing toes, so you can use mana toes every couple of seconds to get that extra 1000 HP, keeps you pumping in the fight. One extra potion that heals you, and it never lets you down. Now for the last perk, you could go with regenerating or nimble, or you could even go with a refreshing if you hearts desire. I still like regen. That way, as I'm running away from the enemy, I'm able to recuperate and reset the fight a little bit sooner than otherwise I would. For the fire staff, obviously we want pillar of fire with one vicious and flame attunement, unless that you are in a war. If you're in a war, then don't worry about flame attunement, but I will cover that a little bit later. This fire staff right here is going to be the best fire staff pretty much for every kind of situation in New World, for PvP, 1v1s, open worlds, OPR, like arenas, like I said. So there it is. Here's the fire staff. The blunderbuss for this build will remain the same as the blunderbuss that I'm using in the live version right now. Exhausted net shot, it's so freaking powerful. We guys know that is one of the best abilities in the entire blunderbuss. Kingly Power and Flame Attunement, you could also use Enchanted instead of Kingly Power if you want a more sustained blunderbuss approach instead of a very bursty blunderbuss. And yeah, that's it for the artillery build and gear right here. Now we're going to jump into the flamethrower. For the flamethrower build, well, pretty much everything remains the same. The only thing that we're going to be changing are we no longer want fireball on the gear, and maybe you want something like accelerating flamethrower right there. Accelerating flamethrower got changed, the perk got changed. So before, you needed to apply 3 burning stacks with the flamethrower for you to be able to get the burst of speed. Now if you burn an enemy with the flamethrower and that enemy has already 2 stacks of burning, you will get the movement speed, meaning that if you hit with like a fireball or like a burnout and you start burning the enemy with the flamethrower, you will immediately get that movement speed, while before you needed to burn the enemy with 3 stacks of the flamethrower before you were able to get the movement speed. So now we're gonna get the movement speed sooner, depending if the enemy that you are burning has already smolders in them, you know. And for wars, well, you would now want to have a fireball on your gear and also meteor shower if you're going to be utilizing meteor showers. If you're not using meteor showers, then you don't have to worry about it, but if you do, well, you better get that meteor showers on the gear. Right, so you want pillar of fire on the weapon, then fireball and meteor shower on the gear. If you're playing this build with the ice gauntlet, then you probably want unending thought. Well, probably not. You definitely want unending thought either on the weapon or on the gear. If you're using ice shower, I'd rather that you have unending thought on the gear and you go with deadly shower on the weapon. That way you can put more deadly showers if you want to play that way. But basically, if you're not changing the playstyle of your ice gauntlet and you already have unending thought on the ice gauntlet, then all you have to do is probably put a meteor shower on the gear and you will be good to go. And for wars, the fire staff that you want, I have some honorable mentions right here. Obviously, you wouldn't want attunement on your fire staff unless you are in the kill squad. If you are not in the kill squad, you don't want attunement because attunement is a single target. So your ideal fire staff for war, if you're just stat padding, doing a lot of damage on the points and in the clumps, it will be a pillar of fire and vicious. That will never change. The thing that will change is probably the third perk. You can either get keen, and if you're using like a keen ring, right, and you don't have the fire damage ring, having keen on the ring and keen on the weapon, you will be critting like crazy. Or you could utilize that chain fire. That way, whenever you do a heavy attack, because you're going to be doing heavy attacks, right, your ultimate regenerates faster, and you're also doing AoE damage. Or you could use keenly empower. I understand a lot of people will be like, no, Trick, you don't want keenly empower because you're almost always capped with empowerment, you know, of empowerment if you're sitting on top of your Rune of Helios. And this is my argument, right? Like, what if your Rune of Helios is on cooldown, you know? Rune of Helios has a 20-second cooldown. In that time, you could get one of those or two or even two keenly empowers and benefit greatly from almost having maximum empowerment with keenly empower. Plus, again, you don't need like keenly jagged, you don't need attunement because those perks are single target. So you either go with pillar, keen, and vicious, pillar, vicious, and chain fire, or keenly empower. One of those fire staff is the ones that you want for war, ideally. And yeah. And for the hard runes, you want to utilize either the cunning bio bomb or the new firestone. You could use both the cunning firestone. Actually, you could use all three of the firestone. If you want to use the stalwarts, it will remove all of the debuff from your allies. Like, let's say that they are inside of a big old gravity well and they have like rents, DCs, etc. You use a firestorm inside of that clump. You will be cleansing all of your teammates, right? You will be applying burn to the enemy, doing damage. If you want more of a burst approach, you could use a brutal cannon shot, or you could use the brutal firestorm. And last but not least, if you are getting targeted and you are afraid to get bursted down every once in a while, you can go ahead and get any of the storm form. Ideally, I would prefer the stalwart storm form. That way you get a little bit of heal as you're trying to run away. And that was everything that I got for you guys on this video. If you did enjoy this video, please do not forget to sub. Remember that I stream on Twitch pretty much every single day. Now, if you want to see this build other than here on my YouTube channel, you guys could also go to NW Champ. This is my PvP website for New World, where I have the most up-to-date PvP information for the game and the most up-to-date builds as well. You guys can go ahead and check all of the fire staff builds that I have created for Season 1. Together, right there, you will find the flamethrowers with pylons. You will find more variety of builds right there because some of those builds that are right there, they're very, very good. It's just that they're not like the top of the best, the ones that I'm recommending, like personal favorite. Like the pylon and flamethrower is a mega powerful build. I just don't like to play that build. That's why I didn't put it on this video, because but it's a build that people can play with, right? If you guys want. So yes, I totally recommend that you guys check this website every single day. I add builds to this website on a weekly basis. But anyway, see you guys on the next videos. Take care and cheers.